The precise corporate moment a tech giant begins its terminal descent is never marked by a sudden, spectacular product failure, but by a quiet, unanimous boardroom vote to let accountants overrule engineers. That single, invisible shift in power initiates a slow-motion catastrophe that no amount of government bailout money or public relations spin can ever reverse. You have been told that technology pioneers fall because they simply lose their creative spark, but the reality is far more cold-blooded. It is a systematic, deliberate process of strip-mining legacy engineering to inflate short-term stock prices, mirroring the exact corporate playbook that brought down aviation legends. By the time we finish, you will understand exactly how the predatory financial formulas used by Wall Street systematically rot the physical machinery running our digital world. Let us go back to 1997. The aviation world changed forever when Boeing merged with McDonnell Douglas. On paper, it was a marriage of industrial giants. In reality, it was a quiet, hostile takeover where the cash-focused executives of a failing aerospace firm took absolute control of a pristine engineering powerhouse. They shifted the corporate culture from a relentless focus on physics, safety, and redundant systems to an obsession with share prices, cost reduction, and capital efficiency. Decades later, the physical consequences of those Excel spreadsheets fell from the sky in front of the entire world. This is not just a warning story from the aviation sector, it is the exact blueprint that Silicon Valley adopted 20 years later. Look at the silicon heart of our digital world, Intel. For decades, Intel was an untouchable titan, dictated by Moore's law and led by legendary engineers who lived by the simple motto that only the paranoid survive. But in the mid-2000s, a quiet, profitable rot set in. Executives looked at the massive capital expenditures required to build clean rooms, which often cost over $10 billion per facility, and saw an opportunity to optimize the balance sheet. They began to treat cutting-edge fabrication plants not as the crown jewels of global innovation, but as expensive liabilities that dragged down their quarterly returns. Imagine running a five-star restaurant and deciding to save money by replacing your master chefs with line cooks who have never held a knife, while simultaneously cutting your ingredient budget in half. What happens to the food? For a few months, the profit margins look spectacular because customers still show up expecting the old quality, but slowly the taste changes, the reputation burns, and the customers leave forever. This is exactly what Intel did to its engineering pipeline. Under the leadership of Brian Krzanich, who took the helm in 2013, the company pivoted hard toward financial optimization. Instead of aggressively funding the transition to extreme ultraviolet lithography, the highly complex technology needed to manufacture next-generation microchips, Intel chose to spend tens of billions of dollars buying back its own stock. In fact, over a 10-year period, the company poured more than $50 billion into stock buybacks. That is $50 billion that went directly to inflating share prices and executive bonuses, rather than securing the future of global computing. While Intel was busy manipulating its own stock ticker, a quiet competitor across the Pacific was doing the exact opposite. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, kept its head down, poured every cent of profit back into extreme manufacturing technology, and quietly built an insurmountable lead. The technical consequences of this financial focus were devastating. Intel fell years behind on its transition to 7nm and 5nm chip designs. When you are dealing with features that are only a few silicon atoms wide, there is absolutely no room for budget cuts. Physics does not negotiate. If you do not fund the research to solve the quantum tunneling effects that happen at those microscopic scales, your chips simply stop working. This is where the illusion completely shatters. The mechanism of this corporate self-sabotage relies on a deeply deceptive metric: return on invested capital. To a financial executive, you can improve this metric in two ways. You can either increase your actual returns by building revolutionary new products, which is incredibly hard, risky, and takes years of research, or You can simply shrink your invested capital by cutting research, selling off factories, and laying off your most expensive, experienced engineers. It is a mathematical trick that makes a dying company look incredibly healthy on paper to the untrained eye. It is absolute madness. A soaring stock price is not a sign of financial health. It is often the smoke rising from a company burning its own floorboards to keep the furnace running. Think about how this actually functions inside a silicon cleanroom. When you lay off a veteran engineer who has spent 25 years understanding the precise, microscopic behavior of silicon under extreme thermal stress, you do not just lose an employee, you lose institutional memory. That knowledge cannot be replaced by a newly graduated engineer working for a third of the salary, no matter how bright they are. Yet, on the quarterly earnings report, that salary reduction is flagged as an immediate victory for operational efficiency. How many times have you upgraded your phone or laptop recently and felt absolutely nothing? That is the direct, physical result of this financial optimization. Tech companies have realized they can charge you more for the premium marketing of progress while spending less on actual breakthrough development. They focus their energy on soft features, software subscription models, and ecosystem lock-in because those have predictable, high-margin returns. The hard, expensive work of pushing physical boundaries is abandoned because the payback period is longer than the average tenure of an executive. Look at the numbers during this era of aggressive cost-cutting. While Intel's R&D to revenue ratio stagnated, their executive compensation packages reached dizzying heights. It was a classic transfer of wealth from the company's long-term survival fund straight into private bank accounts. The technical debt accumulated during those years was astronomical. In the chip world, if you miss a single manufacturing node transition, you are not just behind for a season, you are behind for half a decade. By the time Intel realized they had lost the manufacturing crown to TSMC, the gap was so vast that it would take hundreds of billions of dollars and direct government intervention to even attempt a recovery. This is the arrogance tax in its purest form. It is the massive penalty a dominant monopoly pays when it assumes its market position is an immutable law of nature rather than a temporary advantage earned through relentless engineering. Under Krasnich, the company famously laid off 12,000 employees in a single year, 2016, while simultaneously spending $4 billion on stock buybacks in that same 12-month period. Think about that priority. They fired 10% of their workforce, destroying projects, delaying product lines, and gutting morale, just to prop up the stock price for another few quarters. The clean rooms went silent. The engineers who remained were buried under layers of middle management and administrative bureaucracy. The culture of open, aggressive debate that made Intel famous under Andy Grove was replaced by a culture of fear and compliance. Engineers were told to hit deadlines and cost targets first, even if it meant cutting corners on testing and validation. The result was a series of design flaws, manufacturing delays, and security vulnerabilities that shattered the company's reputation for absolute reliability. This systemic failure has completely reshaped the global geopolitical landscape. Because one legacy giant preferred financial engineering over actual engineering, the entire Western world now relies on a single, highly vulnerable island in the Pacific for the advanced processors that power everything from data centers to fighter jets. This is the real cost of corporate hubris. It is a tax paid not just by shareholders, but by every single person who relies on secure, modern technology. To read the modern tech landscape through this lens, you must look for 3 specific indicators of corporate decay. First, watch the ratio of stock buybacks to research and development spending. If a technology company is spending more to manipulate its own share price than it is on inventing the next generation of products, it is in active liquidation. Second, look at the background of the leadership team. When a company founded on engineering breakthroughs replaces its technical leaders with finance executives, sales specialists, or consultants, the product is no longer the priority, the spreadsheet is. Third, observe how a company handles failure. If they blame market conditions, supply chain anomalies, or rogue engineers instead of addressing systemic cultural rot, they are hiding a deeper structural collapse. Consider what happens when this rot infects software infrastructure. We see it in the massive cloud outages that paralyze global commerce, the critical security vulnerabilities left unpatched in ancient legacy codebases, and the aggressive monetization of platforms that used to put user experience first. The engineering teams that once took pride in building robust, redundant systems have been hollowed out, replaced by offshore contractors and automated ticketing systems designed to minimize costs rather than solve problems. Look at how the software industry has shifted from selling tools you own to renting access to platforms that can change or disappear at any moment. This is not innovation. It is financial optimization. It is the realization that it is far more profitable to lock users into a recurring subscription model than it is to build a product so good that users willingly buy the new version. The engineering focus shifts from making the software faster, more reliable, and more secure to making it harder to leave, more efficient at collecting data, and easier to monetize. This is the exact same corporate logic that led Boeing to charge airlines extra for safety features that should have been standard. When the goal is no longer to build the best possible product, but to extract the maximum possible revenue from a captive customer base, the quality of the engineering inevitably degrades. The systems become fragile, the margins of safety shrink, and the risk of catastrophic failure grows exponentially. Slow, this goes far deeper than a simple story of corporate greed. It is a tragedy of lost ambition. We have traded the hard, messy, brilliant work of building the physical future for the clean, predictable margins of financial manipulation. When we celebrate a CEO for cutting costs and boosting margins at the expense of engineering excellence, we are celebrating the slow, deliberate destruction of our collective technological capability. We are telling the next generation of builders that their skills do not matter, that the only thing that truly commands respect is the ability to manipulate a balance sheet. But you cannot program a semiconductor with financial derivatives. You cannot fly an aircraft on stock buybacks. At some point, the laws of physics reassert themselves, and when they do, the bill always comes due. The cost of that hubris is paid in failed launches, broken infrastructure, vulnerable systems, and a quiet, creeping stagnation that robs us of the future we were promised. We are living in the ruins of the legacy systems built by a generation of engineers who cared about the physical reality of their work, maintained by a generation of executives who only care about the virtual reality of the stock price. The next time you see a tech giant announce a massive efficiency drive or a multi-billion-dollar share buyback program to a chorus of Wall Street approval, look closer. Build intensity. The warning signs are always there, hidden in plain sight for anyone who knows where to look. There is an even deeper, more tightly guarded secret buried within the infrastructure of global connectivity, a quiet reorganization of power that makes these corporate downfalls look like minor corporate restructuring. We are already pulling back the curtain on that next reality, and you will want to be here when we reveal exactly who has been holding the keys all along.